Boom, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Supreme Divine, you are first in the building today. What up, Supreme Divine? Spook Rum 4Q, who is still number 111, is not in the building today. Um, Where we're going to do the PSA. One, please pick up the book. My brother's name is Kenny. The link is in the description below. You already know what it is. It's the true origin story of BDP and a lot of behind the scenes stuff. The link is in the description below. Two, please hit the like button so that like-minded people could check out the channel. It helps the algorithm. And three, big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. Um, let's see if I can move quickly, although I saw a couple of funny questions. Rod Justice, what up? Dre Stack Dollars, what up? This is interesting. Gregory Netta says, yo, Kenny, what do you think is the best invention ever? You will go with refrigerator, television, video games, light bulb, radio. Well, according to the experts, let me make this a little bit lower so that my face could be. According to the experts, they say the greatest invention of all time is the printing press because it allowed for people to make books and books and newspapers and spread information worldwide. Before the printing press, information was local. It was either word of mouth or you had to travel somewhere and pick up some information that you might have not heard because everything was in each region. But with the invention of the printing press, people were able to put ideas like books, the Bible, philosophy, other inventions, medicine, everything into books that could be duplicated, handed out, spread around the world, and it'd all be the same, not word of mouth. So, according to the what I've read, the printing press is the greatest invention of all time for mankind. Now, all of these ones you have here are pretty good. I'd put air conditioning is way up there. um, it could tell because television, the light bulb is big, but before the light bulb, you had kerosene oil lamps and things like that. You could have light. There was light before the light bulb. It just wasn't efficient. Um, and radio was big. I think television to me television and movies is a spin-off of radio. Not really, but to me, in that same vein. But the printing press, I would say electricity. I would say electricity, shout out to Tesla and Edison who stole Tesla's idea, but big up to Tesla. Um, Electricity to me, because none of these things that you put up on the screen would even be possible without electricity. Electricity to me is the most important invention. To me. I thought that conversation was interesting. And yes, I did see the 7'9", 19-year-old. That's crazy. Flow21, what up? Rasul says, hey, KP, did you know party audio of DIC? Not to my knowledge, no. Abel Valdez, when is J. Rue coming to the show? Great question. That's my man, too. I got to get his number. I think I know someone who has his number, too. That's my man, and he's mad funny. Yo, J. Rue is hilarious. That's one thing y'all don't know. Before he moved overseas, I used to catch J. Rue every year at the West Indian Day Parade on Eastern Parkway in Brooklyn. You guys know what it is, Labor Day. And me and J. Rue would be out there, and we'd have a blast every year. Jack Swagger, what up? Right, let's see. Uh, First of all, let me make this a little bit bigger so I can see. And I moved the location back to the old location to see if it's blurry or not. So we're gonna see how the Wi-Fi or whatever the problem is, how it's acting. Silk Child, what's up? MMA, what's up? Sammy Gervais, what up? Ajax Vancinity, oh yeah, happy birthday, H Bully. Her birthday was yesterday. Um, I called her, she didn't answer, and she didn't call me back. I gotta send her a text. Um, Heather didn't hit me back. Maybe she was out having, knowing Heather, she was somewhere having the time of her life. Sweet Goldilocks, what's up? Dear Marasuti, what's good? Um, let's see. Kenneth Smith, what up? Rosmel. She says the shower is the best invention and toilet. For cleanliness, yes. Um, some say penicillin is the greatest medicine invention of the modern era. Penicillin saved countless millions of lives, and it was discovered by accident. Um, Shower is great, although you could have taken a bath. Before a shower, there was a bath. And the whole toilet system has been around since the Egyptians, I believe. I believe the Egyptians or the Sumerians had like a whole plumbing system. This is 6,000 years ago. Now, if you weren't living in a castle or a palace or something, you was out there. You know, they had outhouses. Outhouses. They still had outhouses in the 1900s, in like the 40s and 50s. There was outhouses. Um, I could still see. I think electricity for me. Um, Vegan Monster, what's up? Vegan Monster, what's good, Kenny? Much love from the LBC. I don't think I've ever been to the LBC. Christopher Caldwell, what's up? B-Boy Joneson, what's up? MMA says walking with the traffic lights is big. Um, yeah, before the traffic lights, well, I guess cars, they had stop signs, and I guess people were just crashing into each other. You know, as highways got bigger, you would need some kind of universal guidance without somebody standing there. Um, yeah, but still, I wouldn't put that above electricity or the printing press. Deacon Strange says, "I need to reach out to you. Hit me on IG, DM me." Um, yeah, Jack Swag, electricity is huge. Um, Greg Gannett says refrigerator is good because your food need to be good and not spoiled. Yeah, but back in the day they had ice, and when it was hot they used salt um to store food for long periods of time. And a lot of people, you know, you ate what you had. You know, there wasn't no big like surplus of food. You hunted and you caught your food, or you traded and you ate it right there, I'd imagine. Um, but electricity still would be over. Wouldn't even have a refrigerator. Smartphone was the worst invention, Ajax said. I think a smartphone was a great invention. I think the jury is still out on social media. Smartphones were great in the modern era. As far as communication, smartphones really took us into the 21st century. That really took us into the George Jetson era. Remember, we used to watch George Jetsons and all the things that we thought like this is what, and they were talking about now. What life was going to be like now was the Jetsons era, I believe. And most of the stuff on the Jetsons didn't come true, but talking on a screen is actually true. And I believe the smartphones brought us into the George Jetson era. Sydney Rhodes says radio and reading make you use your imagination. TV, not so much. Well, it's a different. TV is a different experience. Because you had to be great with radio and great with book. Bad radio or bad book, and you don't use your imagination, it's not good. I mean, bad television is not. I mean, even we got a lot of bad television, so I don't know. Um, East Style 74, what's up? Well, Justice says, I thought Kenny would have said the SP 1200. For me, that was a life changing invention. Vegan Monster said electricity is not an invention, it's a discovery, which was harnessed and utilized as a resource. Well, let me be more specific, Glenn. You're right. Electricity is natural. And, they had the Benjamin Franklin sent the kite up with the little key on it or whatever. But Tesla invented or invented AC current. AC current, which, if I understand the story correct, Edison wanted DC current. And there was a big battle, and Tesla won, and then Con Edison stole his idea, something like that. Not Con Edison, I forgot what his name was. Edison, Thomas Edison. Is it Thomas Edison or Edison? Thomas Edison might have been. I'm getting my people. Thomas Edison was no, it's Thomas Edison, the inventor. Yeah. Anyway, we're in a deep rabbit hole right now. Um, but AC current. The ability to have a generator or a power plant that sends out electricity to all over the country, and people can plug in and use that and tap into that electricity. So not electricity, but AC current, to be more specific. Thank you, folks, for saying it's not blurry. We'll see how long that lasts. I changed my I changed the position, and I'm using a different frequency on my uh internet service, so we'll see. Cindy Rose says, happy birthday, H Bully. That's right, HB was getting half. Uh, Heartthrob Forever says soap is the greatest invention. Well, for cleaning, disinfecting, but soap is old. Soap goes back to the Egyptians too. Soap goes back to the Egyptians. Uh, wow, Rod Justice says, I saw J. Rue in concert and felt that he talked too much. He was like a comedian who was not funny. Wow. Ilroy says H. Bully was on the Lord Sears show yesterday, bullying him too. Oh no. That's funny. Gurkin said in medieval times, people barely took a shower. Yeah, a shower was a luxury. As a matter of fact, the amenities that we have, I read that the amenities that we have in America, the average American, would be considered a king in the 1600s, 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, to have running water, food, shelter, multiple clothing, air, air circulation, plumbing. What the amenities that we have as an average American is king level back in the day. Jack Swagger says the Sumerians ate the Booyah tribe Sumerian. I got a funny Booyah tribe story too. I know you guys saw it. Um, I think it's Epic Fails West Coast. I got a Booyah tribe story. KB Play says my great aunt had an outhouse in the 1990s. Yo. Yeah, down south, there's still, you could see some of them. I guess they didn't tear them down or whatever. But yeah, outhouse is crazy. Um, Gregory Ness says back in the 1930s, a lot of people didn't have radio and TV. Yeah, I'm old enough to remember when black and white TV was normal. Like a color TV was a luxury. Do y'all remember that? If somebody had a color TV, they was balling. Most of my life, most of my childhood is in black and white. Um, Ridge Shot, what up? Heartthrob Forever says cameras and motion pictures. Henry Sedillo, what up? No, I did not see The Wanderers. Um, Method Man said ketchup was invented because of spoiling meat. I did not know that. Gregory Ness says, I think the internet is underrated because we would not be watching the Kenny Parker show. Boom. That's it. We should cut this off. All right, y'all. Peace. No, thank you for that one. Uh, oh, this is wild. Kenneth Smith said, J. Rule had me laughing back in the day in his interview where he was talking about Ja Rule biting his name. He was like, what if you have a, like Busta Rhymes and somebody came out as Augusta Rhymes? I never heard J. Rule say that. Ja Rule, J. Rule. Mm, interesting. Henry C. Dillon says, I think the toothbrush was a great invention. Clean people's teeth, oral hygiene, health. I could see a lot of people had bad teeth back in the day and a lot of sickness because of that. I don't, toothbrush probably, what did they use? But the Egyptians had some, did they, what they scrub their teeth? I forgot what the Egyptians used. The Egyptians had everything, man. Um, Kennard Roberts says, KP, what up, fam? Why am I seeing these YouTube videos trying to make my teacher KRS look like some sort of bad guy? I'm glad we got this show because we know the real. I just saw something came on my feed today with what happened to KRS, the true story of what happened to KRS-One and why he disappeared off the face of the earth. I think they got like Tucker Carlson, which is a weird, and then KRS. And I started watching it, and it was just like really like just a biography with some made up stories. And that's the reason why I started the channel. I was talking about that the other day, how so many of these um breakdowns that you see people come up with, if the artist is not actually in the thing, in the documentary or in the breakdown, you got to take it with a grain of salt. If the artist is not saying it out his mouth, and even then they have agendas. But if you don't see the artist say something, don't listen to these people, man. I was watching this thing and I was just like, this is really almost made up what they was talking about. But everybody has the right to their opinion. Some people think that KRS is a bad guy. That is their prerogative. This is me. I tell y'all what I know and my experiences, um, and whatever behind the scenes information I could come up with. Please pick up the book. The people who did this interview or did this breakdown, whatever, should really pick up my book. But speaking of breakdowns, this goes along with the theme of this whole channel. I was watching, you guys know I love to watch the making of records, behind the scenes of records. And I saw Jocelyn Brown talking about the making of Somebody Else's Guy. And the first thing she said was, I didn't make any money on that song, not a dime. I was not paid a dime from that song. That was a huge record. I don't know where it was around the world where you guys are from, but in New York City in '84, Somebody Else's Guy by Jocelyn Brown was on the radio every second. It was huge. She said she wrote the lyrics because on the same day she found out her boyfriend was cheating on her. And then her sister came home and found out that her boyfriend was cheating on her. And because of that, she sat down and wrote Somebody Else's Guy. And she said she had the melody too. So she played some of the music, wrote all the lyrics, sung the song. It was a smash, and she got no money. And she was talking about the music business and how cutthroat it is, which you guys know is one of my main themes on this channel. Um, just another long line and just horror stories. Um, but yeah, for somebody else's guy, it might have been a number one song. Probably went to number one R&B for sure. Um, let's see. Let me move on. Dr. Charles Bombay. Where is Spook Realm? Yes, Spook Realm. What's going on? Flochi said Tesla was grabbing energy straight from the atmosphere for free. Yo, Tesla is one of the most incredible. And if you ever get a chance to look at a documentary on Tesla, he is one of the most incredible human beings that ever lived in modern times. And most of his inventions were stolen from him. Matter of fact, I would argue that Edison, who is known as the greatest inventor, is not the guy he is claiming to be. Go watch a real good documentary on Nikola Tesla. But he was trying, his main theme was trying to harness electricity out of the air so that everyone could have free electricity. And you know they did that. Um, and he died. This guy was a genius, beyond genius. And he died penniless. And when he died, the government came and seized all of his documents. He had some kind of weapon, some kind of death ray weapon. Dude was crazy, eccentric. Um, I would put him right up there with Einstein and these great inventors of the modern era. But yeah, imagine if we could have electricity for free. Yeah, Rosmel says you'd be amazed how much Black people contributed to some of these inventions, and in most cases were the true inventors of things. Yeah, Black people invented a whole bunch of things, um, and I would imagine that the inventor world, the patent world, is probably as cutthroat and vicious as the music world. Um, if I recall, somebody fact check me on this. I believe Sears and Roebuck jeans. One of them, Roebuck, I think, was a former slave. And they couldn't even show him because if they showed him, the genes wouldn't have made it as far as they did. Like a lot of the Black inventors, they had to hide behind the scenes. But yes, um, who is the guy who, Washington Carver? That guy was incredible too. Heartthrob Forever, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. It's much, much, much appreciated. Thank you. Um, and I'm falling behind as usual. Gregory Ness says, can you remember back in Victoria, London, they didn't use soap back then, which led to disease. The bubonic plague, the plague that killed, what, 1/3 of Europe, was hygiene had a lot to do with it. Um, Gregory Ness said the VCR was a good invention. It was. The VCR killed uh, recording. What you call that? When they went to videotape, hurt the film industry. Well, the old school guys. But there's always going to be like a new uh, means of technology that kills the old one, and this becomes the new way of entertaining for a while, and then something else comes along. I was watching something off of a VCR, a VHS tape, and it looked so blurry that it's crazy how the clarity has come in what we watch. And that was considered state of the art back then. That quality, analog quality, was state of the art. It's crazy. Yeah, Engage VR says, I seen an old motel sign that says color TV. That was a perk to a motel back in the day. Yeah, I guess that would be like free Wi-Fi now. Color TV. Color TV is crazy. First time I saw Gilligan's Island in color TV, I didn't even know his shirt was red. I was watching that show for years. Raj Justice says, I remember Kanan saying that people in Somalia would be happy to live in American ghettos. It's beyond that. I read it. So do you realize that 80% of the world is living on $70 a week? 80% of the world. That's like 5 or 6 billion people. If you live on more than $70 a week, you are in the top 20 percentile of people on earth. If you live off more than 70, if you live off $80 a week, you are balling. A homeless person in New York, and I can only speak for New York City, a homeless person in New York City is upper class in most of the world. You could stand on the corner and beg people for money and make $10, $15 a day. That's crazy. There's food all over the place. We throw away, America throws away enough food to feed the world in a day. It's crazy. What we consider poverty is nothing compared to real poverty. 12121 Deuce, 121 Deuce. Thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Much appreciated, much appreciated, much appreciated. Um, that reminds me, I got 2 confirmations for some live guests coming up. Let's see if we can make it happen though. Because first you got to get a confirmation, yeah, I'll do it. Then you got to set up a day, and then they got to really do it on that day. So we'll see. Gregory Knight says the Egyptians had some kind of toothpick. Yeah, the Egyptians were crazy with it. Oh, Gregory Knight said it was a chew stick. Yeah. Um, yeah, Jack Swagger says KRS disappeared when internet AI. Yeah, it's a whole thing about how he disappeared off the face of the earth because he was talking conscious music. It was some. That's why I didn't watch the Miss Melody breakdown. I was just like, I'm not watching this because I already know what it's going to be. But then I saw KRS One and he disappeared, and the real reason he disappeared, and for some reason, like an idiot, I clicked on clickbait, and there it was. Um, MK Ultra says everyone has the right to their opinion, but not to spread information internationally and with malice. That's the world we live in. That's the trolls. Sometimes you can have an opinion that could be contrary to other people's opinions. That's fine. Present your case. But some people are miserable and they come on social media just to spread misery and cause chaos to other people. And they'll do misinformation, they'll do hoaxes, they'll disguise themselves as entertainers and say things that would hurt an entertainer's career. They make AI videos that's fake. Anybody that would do a hoax to try to influence the masses to me is a clown. But um, This is the world we live in, and social media has given everybody a voice, and it's good and it's bad. I think it's mostly bad because back in the day, you had to really do something special to get your voice heard. If you didn't do something special, your voice would be heard about as far as your friends and family. In order for your voice to get heard, you had to do something that warranted a bunch of people looking in your direction. Now you can jump in on a comment section of a self made millionaire and say something horrible that will be seen by hundreds of thousands of people, including the person, the star. And it's horrible. And that's one of the hardest things about when I started this channel. I was like, I'm gonna have to accept that there's gonna be a certain amount of clowns that come on this channel and say purposely hurtful things. And that's just something you have to deal with. And you have to be thin skinned, thick skinned about it. And I'm kind of a thin skinned person. My natural uh, personality is thin skinned. I don't understand people saying any old thing to me. And I believe if you can't say it to somebody's face, then don't say it at all. If you, whatever you feel like you could say, you should be able to say it right to that person's face and deal with whatever what I'm looking for, consequences. But on social media, you can hide and you can say whatever you want. But there's people that said all kind of stuff. I've got threats on this channel, literal threats. I don't want to say the word, kidnapping. I got a kidnapping threat after my PM Dawn video. And my answer to that is whatever. I'm not that easy to capture, so you come with it. But um, I got that. Few things. It's crazy. Philly Cheese says, I read that headline about Jocelyn Brown. Yeah, man. She got no money. Jack Swagger says, KP heard Jocelyn Brown didn't make a dime and put on that BDP hat immediately. Yeah, matter of fact. Rant. I'm gonna call this the rant medallion. Whenever I start going into my rants, I'm gonna pull this out. Y'all know that's like a touchy subject for me. Jocelyn Brown, what happened to the answer record of somebody else's guy? It was called Somebody Else's Girl. I think I remember that. This is somebody else's guy rap too. Somebody rapped that too. Uh, Raj Justice says, I know someone who would beg to differ about the importance of a toothbrush. Every time he yawns, another tooth falls out. Wow. He has some kind, he needs um real surgery probably. Like he needs a real dentist to really get in there because that'll kill him. MMA says Crazy Glue was pretty cool too. Crazy Glue was a cool invention. It was cool. I wouldn't put it at the top of things, but it was one of those useful inventions. Yeah, it was. I would put duct tape over Crazy Glue though. Jack Swagger said Edison is the Drake of inventors. I personally like Drake, so I'm not even gonna do that. I like Drake. I like some of his shit. I understand Drake, but that's wild. That's wild. Oh. Mr. Young says before toothpaste, people used to use charcoal, or baking soda to clean their teeth. Yeah, there was teeth cleaning methods. Just in toothbrush and toothpaste took it to another level. Um, Edison stole his ideas from the black man. Possible. Oh, Rasul Hassan says Lewis Lattimore did Edison's work. Edison couldn't even read his scrolls on blueprints. Wow. I gotta look into Lewis Lattimore. I heard his name. I gotta look into that. That's crazy. Circle the Block Radio. Thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Since I've also seen a video that said Karis was a female whom is in politics, forgot her name. Oh, that's the girl from the Black Lives Matter movement. People saying she looked like KRS. Yeah, I saw that. It's the girl from the Black Lives Matter movement. People say she looked like KRS, or they look like each other, or whatever. Jax Wagner says KP was broadcasting on VHS last week. Yeah, I went back and looked at it. It looked a little blurry at times. It was going in and out. Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was I don't know what it was, man. Deacon Strange, yo, Kenny, do you remember the first movie you saw in VHS? Mine was Dawn of the Dead. First of all, Dawn of the Dead was scary as hell, by the way. Just start there. Um, First movie I saw in a VHS. Remember you went to the video store, they had like 10 movies. I cannot remember what I rented on VHS. It had to be in like 84. I know the Terminator was early for me. I know Terminator was early. I don't know if it's the first, but I know that was early. Sharon Shabazz says VCRs are unwatchable now. It's insane how bad it looks. Yeah, and that was imagine that was state of the art. At one time, that was a come up. VCR recording was a come up from what we had before that. You ever look at those old broadcasts of like Kennedy got shot or whatever, or like the Zapruder film, or like old Martin Luther King before they digitally did them over? Some of that stuff looked crazy, and the sound quality. Color TV was a game changer compared to black and white. Yeah, a game changer. Engage said Kenny True Gilligan's shirt was red and Skipper's shirt was blue. I had no idea. Imagine I lived most of my life not knowing the color of Gilligan's shirt. Um, let's see. JB Play says, no matter how advanced music technology becomes, there's something about hearing that the crackles of a vinyl record that warms my soul. We grew up on that. We grew up on that, and we're so used to it that it became normal. That was part of the record. The crackling made it authentic. Hearing crackling lets you know it's coming from an authentic source for our generation. Um, Remember all that used to make the records dusty. There's people used to add crackling to their samples to make it give it that feel. Let's see. It's too early for a Benny Doyle scroll down, but I'm falling behind, y'all. Vegan Monster says papyrus was a pretty dope invention. Maybe the scribes were writing rhymes. Yeah, whatever they were writing on, but you couldn't duplicate it. So that one scribe, which probably took months or even years to write, that was the only copy. And I guess they kept them in like temples and things like that. But the printing press, bang, you could make 100 copies. I guess I don't know how long it took, a day. Back in those days, maybe 100 copies, and somebody just keep going zhunk, zhunk, zhunk with the ink and all that. You can make a lot of copies of something in a day. MMA says $200 a day. Wow, Joey Joe. What is that? You make $200 a day, Joey Joe? Um, yeah, that $70 is crazy. There's a lot of stats out here. Sometimes we feel like, when we're struggling, we're going through hard times, and you feel like it's only you. And social media makes you feel like you're the only one struggling. And you don't realize that social media is like a highlight reel of somebody's life. It's like watching Sports Center, the Sports Center top 10 plays, and you're watching like 10 dunks, and you're thinking that somebody is out there dunking every time. You're only seeing that highlight reel. But if you stay on social media, it'll make you feel like you're the only one going through hard times. But the numbers don't bear that out. Um, I saw a stat today: 1 in 4 Americans um, literally live paycheck to paycheck. And they said some number like 80% or 70%, some high number like that, of people in America, the richest country on earth, are 2 paychecks away from homelessness, 2 paychecks away from being living on the sidewalk. But you would not think that. I was in New York City today in Manhattan and just watching all the people. I was in where was I? Lower Manhattan, like by Canal Street. I was in, what was that area? Soho. I was in Soho, and just people walking around with designer bags, buying new stuff. It was packed, and you looking like, we're in I would say a recession, but we're in something right now. They're not technically calling it a recession, but we're in something. And like people are struggling, and then you're like, well, who are all of these people out in the New York streets just buying all of this stuff? I don't know. I'm off on a tangent, but I say all that to say, anybody out there, if you're going through hard times, or what you feel is hard times, or things aren't working out as well as you think, you are not alone. You are not alone. The numbers bear out that most Americans right now are really struggling. And even in our struggle, we are 10 times better off than a lot of the planet. A lot of the planet would be considered unlivable to us. We should really, America is a lot of things, good and bad. And for the black man in America, it's been really, we all know the story. It's been, our history has been horrific. But the amenities that America has is like living in a hotel compared to everybody else. I don't want to go on that tangent, but just be grateful for that you have running water. If you cut your water on right now and it comes on and it's clean and you could drink from it, just give a little thanks. Cause man, Never Fisher says you got thicker skin than me, Kenny. LOL. It's unfortunate, one of the things. The internet is not like real life. Even as someone born into this, I had to learn that. I don't really have thicker skin. I just decided that it comes with the territory. And I had to tell myself, if you want to come online, you're going to have to be prepared for people to say all kind of things, call you names, talk about how you look. People that got beefs with KRS about stuff that got nothing to do with you are going to come on your channel and make comments. You're going to have to deal with all of that. But the flip side of that is I get to talk to like-minded people like you guys. And that's why I try to keep this channel at a certain level of intelligence and fairness. Not that I'm intelligent or fair, but I try to keep it at that level as best I can. Um, but it's tough. It's tough. And that's why sometimes I put up comments that I don't necessarily agree with, but I'll put them up anyway, just to get other people's opinions up and other ideas. Um, That's the goal anyway. Um, CMC's techniques in class, you already know what it is. Salute KP, your boy D Nice. He seemed like the only MC producer promoting it back when he dropped albums. Who else loved it before SB Talk? Oh, the TR 808 is coming. That's a KRS-One hook, by the way. So maybe because the TR-808 is a beat, I believe it was a digital beatbox. I think it's an 808, a 909, 707, I think. Whatever, it's a beatbox. And D Nice started out as the beatbox for BDP. If you listen to the P is Free, the original one, which is on the B side of South Bronx, D Nice is doing the beatbox. Um, and everybody had a name back then. So I guess I don't know if Chris or Scott started calling him the human TR-808. Um, but yeah, D Nice. I didn't know anything about drum machines back then, so I didn't even know I knew an 808. I guess it was a beatbox because D Nice was a beatbox, and they were saying he was the human TR-808. So I guess, oh, he's a human TR-808 beatbox. Must be a beatbox. I didn't know. I used to be in the studio with Chris and had no idea what was going on. Zero. I used to just be so happy to be in there. Anyway, I just went off on another tangent. Gregory Ness says condoms is the best invention. It saves lives. Yeah, especially in this era, in the AIDS era, it saved probably thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of lives. But that wasn't its intended purpose. I guess the intended purpose was birth control. Um, But they were using something, just them Egyptians. I think they had something back in the day. It wasn't like a condom, but they were using something, probably a leaf, a special leaf or something. That goes way back too. The question should really be, what's the greatest invention after the Egyptians? Because they had everything, man. Mr. York says, we didn't care what color Gilligan's shirt was. We just wanted to know if they were going to be rescued. And I really believed that each week as a kid, I really believed that this was going to be it. They eventually did get rescued, though. Um, let's see. Jack Swagger says tape hiss was cool too. I wasn't a fan of tape hiss. Crackling was cool. Tape hiss. Once I heard, once I heard, once I got a metal cassette, once I started making tapes on a metal cassette, and I heard the quality of a metal cassette versus a regular cassette, I was over the hiss. Like the hiss was normal until I heard a metal cassette. Then I was like, okay, that's unacceptable. And then when I started making music in the studio, and you hear how it sounded in the studio, and then when you hear it with the hiss later on, you're like, oh no, no. So I don't know if I was big on the hiss, but it was normal. I didn't even know it was a hiss until I heard afterwards. Oh. MK Ultra says greatest inventions are cooking and agriculture. Well, I mean, if you're going to take it there, the wheel is probably the greatest invention of all time, right? The wheel. Because even fire, which is essential for human life, probably, was probably discovered by accident. Lightning strikes a dry grass or something, and a fire starts, and the early humans figured out that we can use this. The wheel could be number one. As I was thinking of the printing press, the wheel is probably number one. Taking it back to prehistoric days, the difference between what you can carry and roll as opposed to what you can roll with a wheel probably changed humanity. I'm going with the wheel. But that's like, that's these are ancient inventions, but yeah, I'm going with the wheel. Um, let's see. Gregory Netter says Nas is the best invention ever. I would love to get Nas on this channel. I don't really know Nas like that at all. I mean, he's, I've seen, like I've said many times in this channel, I met him a couple of times. He was cool, but I don't know him. But what I like about him is that he's a hip hop head. And he's always talking about rappers that came before him. Because I hate when somebody says, you see a rapper and they interviewing him like, who inspired you? And they be like, nobody. I just came up with all of this on my own, or just my crew. I'm inspired by just my boys. Like, come on, man. Everyone before, if you were a real artist, when you were trying to be an artist, you saw people that you aspired to be, and you took stuff. Everyone takes stuff from other people and make it their own. And I always respected Nas because he always talked about hip hop back in the day and the Fat Boys and how much he loved the Fat Boys and how Shantae was a superstar in his neighborhood and all of that stuff. Like, I like that. I would love to get Nas on this channel. How great would that be? Green Hornet says blunts is the greatest invention. Egyptians probably had those leaves too. Louis Latimer invented a carbon filament that made the light bulbs durable. Whoa. I gotta brush up on my Louis Latimer. Chris said Louis Latimer did a lot for Edison. First of all, You Must Learn is one of the greatest conscious records ever. And I think one of KRS-One's greatest records, the original and the remix, that doesn't get mentioned at all in his catalog. You Must Learn. He put out You Must Learn in a time when gangster rap was taking off and the whole industry was changing and everybody started talking hard. 89, NWA was on fire. And it was either that or you was talking about jewelry and cars. And he said, you must learn. I'm gonna do a whole history of the black inventor. That's crazy. And it sold. That's crazy. Big up KRS, man. As a hip hop fan, not that I'm related, as a hip hop fan, that's crazy. Um, let's see. Now and later, candy is a cool invention. Candy is a cool invention. Egyptians probably had that too. Now and later took my feelings out when I was a kid. Joey Joe says United States is rich. Majority of the people are not. But like I said, it's rich relative. The majority of people in America are not rich in the United States compared to the rich 1%, the wealthy 1%. But compared to the world, Joey Joe, you are living like a king. Joey Joe, the fact that you are on this internet with whatever device that you have probably puts you in a top 10 percentile on Earth. The fact that you're on this channel, whatever, if you have an iPhone, you're rich in this world. You're not rich in America. Um, oh yeah, Flowetry. Yeah, the surgery. This is an update right here. It's actually been tough, but mostly because I'm on my feet all day and I'm still rehabbing. Thank you for asking. Yes, Flowetry had surgery. And I'm glad to see that you're getting better. Still rehabbing. You said it's been tough. Yeah, I'm sure. But we're all pulling for you here at the Kenny Parker Show. That reminds me, hit the like button, please, if you get a chance. Thank you. Um, Cutie Pie says ice cream, best invention ever. Jack Swagger says putting up opposing ideas is the ultimate in fairness. I try. Um, because like I said, everyone has their own rights to their opinion. This right here, we might be here all day. Yo, Kenny, what thoughts on the rap fatigue thing on YouTube lately? I've seen that, and I agree finally with rap fatigue. There's a couple of things that's happened. I think when they talk about rap fatigue, they're saying that the rap audience, mainly the black rap audience, is tired of the same old negative imagery. And I think between the drill rap and the booty shaking music and imagery, the younger generation, we've been done with this, but the younger generation, they're saying, is finally had enough. Not only that, but the mainstream audience, aka white people, who they say bought 70% of hip hop, over the years has been bought by white people actually. I don't know if it's fatigue that they're tired, because they say there's a black fatigue out here too. Y'all see those videos? Black. The mainstream people are just tired of black people imagery. That's another whole conversation. But I think rap fatigue is leaning into the black fatigue, that they're tired of. I don't want to single out. I'm not going to single out any particular artist, but the booty shaking on TV and the drill rap and the guns, they can't relate anymore, and they're tired of it, which is a start, because then it says, well, someone, maybe one of these young boys, and I always said, in my opinion, it has to be a young boy, is going to come along with something new and fresh and could maybe take it back in the other direction. That's one part of the rap fatigue. The second part, and I always say this, and y'all get mad at me for bringing his name up all the time, but this is the post Drake era. I think we talked about this a week and a half ago, that this is the first time in 35 years since my man Biz put out Just a Friend in 1990 that a rap song has not been in the Billboard Top 40. 35 years. That is domination. However, um, I always argue that rap has really been in trouble for like the past 6, 7 years. It was Drake that was holding up the sales and the image with his dominance. He made it look like rap was doing better than it was, because he did collabs with all kind of other artists, and he was putting out hit after hit after hit, and it made it look like rap was doing better than it was. But if you subtract Drake out of the past, let's say 10 years, rap would have really looked different. I'm talking about mainstream rap, not underground rap. I'm talking about the mainstream top 40. If you subtracted Drake from the past, let's say 7 years, we'd be saying rap was done 7 years ago. But now that Drake is not hot, or he doesn't have a big song. He had a big song last year, but now that he's not hot, we're seeing what everyone else is doing. And Kendrick was on fire last year, and he put out some good songs, and he was hot in relation to his battle with Drake. But life without Drake, be careful what you ask for, mainstream, because now you have it. And I think it's people are tired of the imagery. White people can't relate to what they're seeing, and no Drake. And here we are. And that's a long rant, but I'm gonna move on. Kenneth Smith. So Kenny, the richest country on earth residents are 2 paychecks from being homeless. Sounds like a lot. Sounds a lot like how you describe the record industry. Yes, because we could get real deep on this channel, but it's. I'm not a social scientist, but the gap between the rich and the poor and the wealth distribution in America causes 60, 70% of the people to be two paychecks away from homelessness, and 1% of the people owning 10 homes. That is not sustainable. And it's always been like that in capitalism, but it's getting worse. And still we are the richest country on earth. And still we're living better off than most of the world. Like I said, if you can cut your water on and it's not brown, if your water comes on clear out of your faucet, you are living like a king or a queen on this earth. So when you get a chance, when we get off, just go look at the statistics. I don't want to bring people down, but I want people to be grateful, because we all complain, me included. We all complain about things going on. This ain't right. That ain't right. You know, I can't believe the price of Jordans just went up or something like that. Most people in this world, shoes are amazing to them. All right, I'm not going to say it anymore. I'm going to get off of this subject, but I'm very passionate about it, though, as you as you guys can see. Um, Cutie Pie, thank you so much. As the Kelly Parker Show is the best invention. Thank you for being thankful to be part of it. Thank you so much, Cutie Pie. These are the kind of comments that make me just click off and end the night. Thank you so much for your contribution to the channel and always being here with us. CMC, Method Man said on the Gangstar Bad News remix, if Guru was still here, half of you rappers wouldn't have a rap career. There's a couple of people I could think of, if they were still here. A lot of people, things would be different. I'm not gonna say any names, but yeah. Shout out to my man Guru. I used to see him all the time out and about. Um, we've chilled. We have chilled a few times together. Uh, Me and Preem were actually closer. The DJs always gravitate towards each other, but um, me and Guru was mad cool as well. And he's a dope MC, man. Great voice, original flow. Like his flow, I wouldn't say it was original, but it was his flow. He was very distinctive. And here goes an old man soap opera rant. We don't have that today. Imagine taking Guru and putting him through auto tune. You wouldn't even know the difference between Guru and Future. Nah, that's a bad comparison, because Guru, at least he raps. But I say that to say what we loved about Guru was his voice. We don't even get voices anymore. I'm gonna stop complaining about hip hop, but it's bad, man. And I hate sounding like that old guy. All right, it's 9:03. I'm about to do a Benny Doyle scroll down. I'm not that far behind though. Oh, Rasul says King Tut condom is on display. Oh, word? The dumb Egyptians, man. I'm gonna tell you. And a lot of people are saying the Egyptians got their technology from the Sumerians. The first, supposedly the first civilization, modern civilization. But those Egyptians had it on lock, unless you was a slave. Clothes are the best invention. Think about it, special ed. What's the value of clothes as protection against the elements? If you lived, first of all, I believe that humans should not be in most of the world. I believe that humans are meant to live in a climate of 70 degrees and above. I think humans are only really supposed to be in Africa and South America, probably. Anywhere where it's warm mostly year round. The human body, I think, was built for that, except humans are smart enough. Humans are the only animal on earth that will take the skin from another animal, put it on themselves, and then go other places where that animal can be that a regular human couldn't be. The fact that we can go to snow and the Alps and all that stuff is because we chose to take animal skins. Now, but did we need clothes? If you go back to the Egyptians, I mean, they had clothes, they had, little coverings. I guess clothes is a bigger, I would say it's the greatest invention, but um, it was important. Then Marvel Studio, hip hop was one of the best things invented. Create entertainment wise, creatively, I think hip hop is the greatest invention of the past 50 years, entertainment wise. There is nothing else that culturally, I'm to hip hop culture, that captivated the world and brought more people from different likes, walks of life together like hip hop did. Um, and there's a lot of controversy for some people on who started it all, but I'm a big up Herc and Flash and those guys, man. Without them, we wouldn't even be here. There goes Flash right there. Me and Flash. Um, let's see. Um, Patrick Sargent, what up? Um, I hope hip hop. I hope this slow period in hip hop um is the calm before the new storm. I really hope so. B-Boy Jones, the KRS Blueprint album was so dope. Yeah, man. I was in the studio for a few of those songs. Ilroy says the Caucasus Mountains remix is one of my favorite songs. That was so dope. I still have the copy of Freedom, Get Up and Dance that Chris used to make the remix. I have that. It was Scott LaRock's record that Chris was given to Chris, which was given to me. I still have that. Mr. York says, KP, if you invented something, what do you wish you had invented? Wow. I would have liked to have invented something like medicine that saved millions, something that saved millions and millions of lives, like polio vaccine or something that changed millions of lives. So I would say some kind of medicine, something like that. The wheel would be dope. If I if I invented the wheel, that'd be great. No one knows who invented the wheel. Whoever that brother was or sister who said, I'm tired of carrying all this stuff. If we put wheels on a piece of wood, we can drag it further and carry more stuff. Whoever came up with that was crazy. Rosmel says that's why people from all over the world are migrating to the States. Yeah. The a lot of them come because the opportunity here, there's so much opportunity here that's just not in other countries and other places. Not to mention the higher learning, or even the fact that if you get sick, there's a hospital within a mile or two of where you are. Do y'all remember the story of Dikembe Mutombo, rest in peace, and how he dedicated most of his money he made in his NBA career to building a hospital in his country because his mother got sick and the hospital was too far away. It was a sickness that she could have easily been cured of, something like that. And the hospital was too far away, and his mother passed only because they couldn't get her to a hospital. And he decided when he got an MBA that not only was he going to build a hospital in Africa, in his country, but he started buying old ambulances that people no longer wanted and were taking them, shipping them over there and using them in Africa so that people could even get to the hospital. The fact that you can be sick, call 911, and an ambulance comes to your location and take you to a hospital and save your life is unbelievable in this world. Raj Justice says that's what I dislike about some artists today. They talk as if they invented hip hop and did not, and did it while standing on nobody's shoulders. Yeah, there's a real disconnect between the old and the new. And there's a disconnect that I think has never been seen before in modern history. History has always been the elders teach the young, who they become elders and teach the young, and they become elders and teach the young. And we hold up the older generation and we revere them, as in their old age, as scholars and elders. Something happened in the 80s, 90s. A disconnect happened with those kids, and now they're grown, and they think only now matters. The disrespect that I see connected to some of the greats of all time these days, people comparing artists to Michael Jackson. This person is better than Michael Jackson. This person, I can't even fathom what they're talking about. They're not even old enough to even understand what they're saying. It's like a little baby to me talking when you comparing somebody to Michael Jackson. Or the disrespect that goes with Jordan. He wasn't really that good. He didn't play against anybody. Like I hear these things, this talk. It's something going on with this new generation that they don't regard anything older than like 5 years as being authentic or good. And it's weird. Uh, Patrick says no more Cardi B's. I'm not gonna single out Cardi B. I like Cardi B as a person. Like I like to watch her talk. She's funny to me. Um, but that style of music, and I'm not even gonna say Cardi B so much because she only dropped. This is her second album. She hasn't even been out like that. But I'm gonna put her in the mix. But there's some other girls that's come since Cardi B that's wild, man. The things they're saying and doing is just wild. Gregory Ness says it's not rap fatigue to me. I say rap music is whack for decades. I've been saying this for a while. It's gotten progressively further away from the creativity that we loved. But for this new generation, they was still into it up until like COVID. And then something happened. And then Drake got quiet. And here we are. But there is a fatigue because it's falling off a cliff. Rap has fallen off a cliff. Black music has fallen off a cliff. Afro beats a couple years back was on fire. Um, but you subtract, and that's African music. I'm gonna say black music because it's intertwined. But R&B, hip hop, even dance hall has been really quiet, man. Really quiet. Jack Swagger says music will see a resurgence, but it has to die first. It seems that way. Seems that way. MMA says rap has been in trouble a lot longer than 7 years. Yeah, it has, but it was still selling. So the thing was, creatively wise, it's been in trouble for a minute. But record sales wise, relative to everything else, compare rap music to R&B, pop, country. Record sales wise, rap was still dominating and selling well. And then, boom, it hit a wall. And I'd say it started in the past few years. I'm talking about sales and charts, not the creativity part. I'm talking about the sales part. The people who used to buy rap are the demographic that used to buy rap isn't buying it. And the cool factor, the hip hop culture being the coolest thing, and all the brands want to get down with the culture because it's the coolest thing. All of that seems to be fading. Charles Bombay says somebody wanting to child nap Kenny over PM Dawn comments is the truest definition of a man's basement keyboard warrior. Yeah, man. That's real, really happened. This is a big thing. Focusing on one artist is detrimental to the whole game. That's the Drake effect. Yeah, but which came first, the chicken or the egg? Is it that they focused on him too much? Or is it that he was making the records that caused everybody to focus on him? I think it's a combination of the two. Because some of these artists that was saying, good for him, I'm glad they dissed him. You go back and look at their catalog, and like, your biggest song got Drake on it. And you're happy to see him go? Okay. Oh. Gergen says, I say sneakers or shoes is the best invention. I don't know. Well, most of the world seemed to have been in sandals up until they started traveling into the cold environments. But a lot of those Africans and those tribes, they didn't wear shoes. They just had straight soles to the ground and had those hard bottom soles. The bottom of your foot, skin on the bottom of your foot became hard like shoes. Being able to cover your feet from the elements is a big deal. I wouldn't put it at the top, but it's a big deal. That's a big deal. Shelter in general is a big deal. Um, and I've fallen behind again. I was kind of almost caught up, but then um, R.I.P. Guru, R.I.P. Guru. Yeah, that was a tough one, man. That was a tough one. Um, Rod Justice says, Katie, get off my lawn, Parker. Yeah, man. Let me not be in my um y'all be having these comments that be getting me hyped a little bit. Oh. B-Boy Joe says fat laces is the greatest invention. James Thomas Jr., thank you so much for your contribution. Says Guru said if Pac was still here, most of you rappers wouldn't be so cavalier. If Pac was still here, a lot of artists would be different, man. Because that was still an era where you had to kind of be original. And so I see a lot of people copy Tupac's whole persona and style. Now imagine if you couldn't copy Tupac and you had to come with your own. I could name a few artists that probably wouldn't have been on. Gergen says, yeah, Kenny, I say that also hip hop is the best invention for music ever. Um, I don't know ever, because the blues really fathered all of this. The blues branched off to rock and roll, jazz, R&B, hip. Everything comes from those blues guys. So musically, I would say blues is the greatest invention ever. That guitar, whatever, those guitars, and then it went on. But for universally bringing people together, not since Thriller. Thriller was a moment in time. That wasn't even an album. That was a moment in time musically where the whole world liked one thing. That is very rare. Thriller was that moment where the whole world and everybody on earth was like, this is it. But outside of that, hip hop is the only genre I've seen that can do that. Even people who are racist will listen to hip hop, which is crazy. Mr. York says childhood helps you develop tough skin. Yeah, especially if you grew up in the Five Boroughs like me. Elementary school was like a mini Rikers where I grew up in the Bronx, a fight almost every day. I grew up in Brooklyn, same thing. Um, but the thing about that is, even in growing up in a rough neighborhood, if somebody says something and you heard they said it or they said it to you, there's a reaction. What was that you said? Say it now. Say it to remember that. Say it to my face. We had that growing up. The internet is different because there's nothing you can do. Somebody could disrespect you. You don't even know who they are. They could say anything they want, and there's nothing you can do. And the only thing you could do is try to get in a war with them back and forth on social media, which is the worst thing you can do. So it's basically like you got to stand there and take it on social media. Patrick Sargent, I say this all the time. I think I mentioned this on Tuesday. When's the last time we spoke to D Nice? About a year and a half ago. We was at a party. We was at a Tony Touch party together. KRS was performing actually. I was there. It was a Tony Touch party featuring KRS. And D Nice was there and I was there. As soon as we saw each other, we were like, yo, let's catch up. So we left out the party and we went across the street to a pizza shop. And it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And we stayed there till like 3 o'clock in the morning at a all night pizza shop on 14th Street. And we ran into Rod Strickland came into the pizza shop. I mentioned this on Tuesday. Chris Morale says rap fatigue is our fault. Too many folks sitting around mad, and here we are. We don't have to have it, you know. You mean we don't have to have rap? Well, it's the older heads are disgusted with where it is now. And the young boys are like, they don't want to get beat up on by us. They're like, F you old dudes. But we passed the torch to them, and man, you look how the torches were passed from Flash and Herc and them to Run DMC, LL Fat Boys and them to Rakim, KRS Kane and them to Big Pop, Snoop, Nas and them. You know what I mean? To DMX 50 and Kanye and them. Not even Kanye, he's later, but DMX 50, Ja Rule, Ludacris and them. You know what I mean? To these guys, and then to J. Cole, and then Drake and Wayne and these guys. We kept passing the torch, but I'm not trying to disrespect. This is not my genre of music, but some of the stuff I hear is just like, did you even try? Charles Brown basically Kenny, it will bounce back. Everything in cycles. Chris said country music, you're looking at your end, and he wasn't wrong back then. Yes, yes. Country music is on fire right now, by the way. Um, let's see. I haven't seen this name in a while. Abdullah Muhammad. What up? Um, graffiti was a great invention. Them Egyptians, man. Them hieroglyphics. I'll probably say the Egyptian more time on this channel today. Patrick Sargent says too much drugs and sex. Yeah, but there was a lot of drugs and sex in the 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s, probably worse than now. And still there was creativity and originality. I don't know. Yeah, I've said this before, crack. I didn't want to blame. I've said this before about the crack era. The passing of the torch from each generation. I think in our community, the black community, crack destroyed our generation. If you look at the amount of people that either lost their life in the game, got decades in jail, or got strung out and missed a decade just being high. If you take all of those men, I'm gonna say men, you're talking millions. All of the millions of men not passing down any information to their children because they weren't able to. And I don't think there's ever been anything, and I got to speak for I'm speaking for the black urban community. That's where I'm from. I don't think there's been anything since 1865 that affected our community like that, like the crack in the cities. It destroyed so many people's lives and made them unable to pass down the information. I think that's a good point. I've talked about that before. The crack epidemic um, may have been a major reason why there's such a disconnect between the old and the new. That's never been there before. Never. Um, I Compost says, I can't believe Cardi B earns a living speaking English. That's funny. Let me scroll. Let me do. We're approaching 9:30. Let me do a quick scroll down. I don't see the Doyle brothers in here, but let me scroll down. I'm gonna jump in right here. Let's see. Sweet Goldilocks, is the all night pizza shop on 14th Street still there? I don't know. I haven't been over there. I'm pretty sure. MMA says the torch is still passing. Like, who right now is passing the torch to who? I don't even know. And whoever they passing the torch to, it's real quiet. I don't know. They just light that flame again. Um, Parsons says hip hop was done when people claimed Wayne was the best rapper out. He was the best commercial rapper at the time. commercial. You understand, these people don't hear everything. They hear like a handful of artists. He's the best of the lot, the best of the people on the radio. And when was that when they were saying Wayne was the best? Was that like 2010, 09, 2010? And then Drake took over. So maybe maybe there's a correlation there. I don't know. Dear Marva Suji says, don't remember passing the hip hop torch to fake Drake. Well, somehow it got passed to him. BR Valentine, what's up? Oh, you're not in the comment, you're not in the comment section. Matter of fact, it's 9:31. We are now in overtime. Let me big up the Rewind crew. BR Valentine is one of the main Rewind crewers. It says Raekwon gave Griselda the torch and they ran with it and made Ray proud of their success. That's dope. That's dope. That's how it's supposed to be. It's like a relay race. Let's see. I saw somebody said that's a good point, Heartthrob, but I didn't see Heartthrob's comment, so I would love to know what it was, but um, let's see. Gurganesh says, I heard the government put crack on black neighborhood. You didn't hear that is a fact. The CIA flooded the community with drugs to earn money for their covert operations. The CIA needed money to do what they wanted to do overseas, and Congress was not giving them the allotted amount of money. So they said, how can we raise money to do what we want to do off the books? I know, let's sell some drugs. Who can we get to sell this stuff? I know, let's give it to the dudes in the hood. And boom. They made billions, the hood made millions, and destroyed everything. Def Rocker says heroin was detrimental to the black community in the 70s. It was, but not like crack. Heroin was bad. There was a lot of those guys coming back from Vietnam. They all were on heroin. Not all, but a lot. I think a lot of that heroin epidemic was fueled from a lot of people coming back from Vietnam. You can imagine what went on over there. That caused them to get hooked up, but they came back messed up. But even that was bad. But crack was some other next level wild style. um, Benny Doyle says, Kenny, this is like 5 weeks in a row now. Dr. Charles Bombay is me. Oh, my bad, Benny Doyle. Thank you for the contribution to Shadow. Oh, man. Maybe you should start out with, this is Benny Doyle, and then comment, because I get these names mixed up. Big up Benny Doyle. Sydney Rhodes, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Much, 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 much appreciated. QT, OT. Let's see. I'm gonna go down. We gonna rock just a little while longer. I just want to get some of these comments in. Hard cold Alquan says no torch passing, which is why someone got all of the old school rappers from the 80s to do albums over the last couple of years. The music biz is decreased. Yeah, I mean, but you know what? Even the concept of passing the torch, that comes from the elders passing down to the young generation. That's like a natural human progression. But even that, these young boys have no conception of passing the torch. They just in it. Let me get mines and I'm out. They're not passing the torch to anybody. They didn't get the torch. They don't care about the torch. And that's why we're here. Hypestyle says, Kenny, I've been ducking in and out of the chat. Have we already talked about the death of Lenny Wilkens? We did last week. Big up Lenny Wilkens. Rest in peace. Salute to his legacy in the NBA and sports culture. Yes, we talked about Lenny Wilkens. Was it last Tuesday or was it last Friday? We mentioned Lenny Wilkens. Rest in peace to him. Rest in peace to Richie Adebato. Rest in peace to Michael Sugar Ray Richardson. Um, Drake is a pop artist at this point. He is, but he's still hip hop for hip hop now. And he's not really out right now. Jack Swag said, KP, did you enjoy Drake pulling out his Blackberry and read his raps on Funk Flex? That's when hip hop died. I didn't see that. But then again, an old school rapper did that too. Who was that did that in a battle? They was battling and they pulled out a phone. Maybe Drake just wrote something at that moment and he wanted to get it across. He should have said, yo, I just wrote this rhyme last night and I want to say it to you guys. I just wrote this. This is brand new. And then pull out his phone. Maybe it would have worked better. His BlackBerry. Maybe that would have worked better. I don't know. I didn't see that though. CMC says crack and guns. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure about the guns, but for sure the crack. That is documented. It's a shame, man. And of course we took the bait. Of course we took the bait. You're gonna bring a multi-million dollar making product to people who live in poverty. They, of course they're gonna do it. And a lot of these guys are already in some kind of game. Of course they're gonna do it. But look what it did. Look what it did. We might have never recovered from that. A lot of those guys from Vietnam thought they were gonna die, so they figured I'm gonna get out, go out feeling good. Yeah, man. I don't. Whatever somebody did to get through a war, who am I to judge that, man? I couldn't even imagine being in a combat. I couldn't even imagine being in high school, my senior year of high school, and somebody says, "You are drafted. You are going into the army right now." Let's think about being 18, whatever you were doing in high school, your senior year of high school, and you graduated, and somebody said, whatever you were about to do, no, you're going overseas into a jungle and fight for your life. I couldn't even imagine. Whatever they had to do to get through that, God bless you, man. And they came home with that, though. I can't even imagine. Veterans Day was Tuesday. Veterans Day was Tuesday. Big up to the veterans, man. Can't even imagine. Um, let's see. I'm gonna do a couple more, y'all. Matter of fact, this is what I'm gonna do. Scroll to the very. I'm at the very bottom. This is not the one I was gonna click on. You were thinking about cannabis. No, I was thinking of something else. This is what I wanted to click on. Fight for a country where you didn't even have equal rights. That. But they got drafted, and you had to go. Forget 18. Imagine right now you get a letter in the mail, tomorrow morning, you get a letter in the mail saying, whatever you're doing in your life, stop it. You're going to an army. Could you imagine that? I can't. Um, let's see. Um, Trying to find some last comments before I check out. Death Rocker says, I saw General Steele on Sway reading a rhyme from his phone. Shout out to Boot Camp. Shout out to Smith and Wesson. That's the family. But I'm gonna leave that right there. Um, Hot Dog Forever says Method Man did against the friendly spar against Black Thought. Yeah, sometimes you have a rhyme that you want a new rhyme or something, or you have rhymes you remember, but you can't remember other rhymes. You know they're dope, but I don't remember them, but I have them in my phone. Um, I'm not an MC, so I don't know, but what makes fake Drake hip hop? Because he rhymes on the mic. Yeah, Drake is a rapper. You can say whether you like him or don't like him, he is a rapper, which by extension, he is doing hip hop. Might not be the hip hop you like, but it is a form of hip hop, in my opinion. Def Rocker says, I like Yassine's Bey's answer about Drake being hip hop. He says Drake is like elevator music. Uh-oh. I mean, Yassine Bey, that's my man. Love to have him on the channel. I have no contact info on him. Yassine, Mighty Most, come on the channel, man. I would love to talk to him. First of all, I haven't seen him in like 15 years, but that's the homie. Um, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call Drake. Maybe he is elevator music. He is easy listening. He'll have bars from time to time, though, but he's easy listening. He has the formula that sells. He makes radio records. He makes radio records. That's what he makes records that are big on the radio. That's what he does. That's what he specializes in. Um, Spook Realm is in the building. Yo! In overtime. As a music head and not just a hip hop head, I acknowledge that pop is short for popular. The executives made pop a genre and that cut a lot of artists off from becoming recognized. Yeah, well, remember there was a time when R&B music was the black charts. It was called the black charts. That's how segregated America was. Billboard magazine had the black charts, and they changed it to R&B charts. But yeah, then they had a pop. Everything has to fit in some genre. And the pop chart is the overall umbrella of everything. Um, and it does stop some artists from being recognized unless you're from a subgenre, rap or R&B or jazz or something, and it becomes big enough to reach the pop audience. John Walker is drafted and unprepared. Can you be prepared? If you're drafted into the army, can you be prepared? They throw you in a boot camp and they throw you out there, man. I don't know. Jack Swagger says people read it off a phone, but Drake read it and it was whack. Oh man. Fake Drake gets every rhyme ghostwritten. That's not true. He writes too. He is an actor playing the role of a rapper. I can see that. I can see that argument. But he's been dope. Because he can't just say he's playing the role of a rapper. He has had one of the greatest musical careers of all time. He sold ridiculous numbers. So at some point, even if you're faking it, at some point you got to come with the goods, man. This is my major argument. I'm not even gonna go into this. I might pick this up on Tuesday, but this has been my major argument, Chris Morale. I have refrained from saying this, but you said it. Nice and Smooth were doing the same and got a major pass. And they were dope. And that's my family. That's Nice and Smooth is family, and I love their music. But um why is that? Why it's hypocritical. But I'm not going to get into that today. Mr. York said actually it was soul music and then R&B. Yes, I guess they called it soul. But there was a black chart at the time, which I found crazy. A black chart. CMC, could you bring Diamond D on the show? I'm kind of cool with Diamond D. Like I've seen him out and about. We're cool. I don't know him like that. You understand? To bring somebody on the show, first, four things got to happen. I have to get in contact with them. I have to have their number or some kind of contact, which is not easy. People don't just have their number out there and for good reason. Then if I get in contact with them, they have to agree and say yes. There's quite a few people, y'all be surprised, who I have contacted. They said, "What's up?" I said, "Would you come on the show?" And then they either said no or they don't respond at all. So first I have to get their info. They have to agree to come on the show. Then we have to actually set up a time. We're going to do it Tuesday on this day. Yes. And then they have to actually do it. So four things have to happen. But to answer your question, Diamond D would be great. That would be a long conversation. Elroy, appreciate the OT, Kenny. Thank you so much. I'm gonna jump off. We're really deep in the OT. I'm gonna jump off right now. Let me come on here and just go to the very bottom. I'm at the bottom. Um, Gregory Netta says passion fruit is a great invention. You mean Drake's song Passion Fruit? um, Spook Realm says, for the record, I was here in the beginning, but I remained silent to see if I'd still be mentioned, and I was. I love you guys. We are family. Yes, we are, Spook Realm. Um, I'm just gonna throw this. This is a good bit of information that I'm gonna jump off. The black chart got changed to soul chart because Caucasian artists started making subgenre music as well. So they had to make subgenre charts like blues, jazz, dance, etc. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, y'all. This is the Kenny Parker Show. Um, we do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please hit the like button if you get a chance. Um, Big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. If you don't got the book, the link is in the description below. And I am jumping off right now. Peace, y'all. Love you guys. Friday night. Y'all be safe out there. All right, I am out.